Evaluating a person is very difficult. This is because the evaluation results of a person can vary greatly depending on the era in which he lived and who the subject of evaluation is. Today, we're going to check out 10 great people who have been known as great people, but who actually have an ugly truth. Let's start now. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison is an inventor with more than 1,000 patents, but he is also famous as a businessman who successfully commercialized various products that had been invented, including the light bulb. However, there are many elements that deserve criticism in his success process, so there are views that view him negatively. He was sued for stealing an idea and later lost the case, most notably the incandescent lamp that Swan had a patent for in 1875. In addition, Edison emphasized the danger of Westinghouse's alternating current, which was related to Tesla, in order to publicize the excellence of direct current, which his company focused on. To this end, Edison produced an electric chair for execution using alternating current, and was criticized for experimenting with public executions by mobilizing various animals, including elephants. His main reason for criticism was that he used ugly and cruel experiments to succeed. Henry Ford. Henry Ford, who opened the beginning of mass assembly and developed the Model T vehicle and brought about great changes in the automobile industry, is a successful businessman, but on the other hand, he is evaluated as a believer in anti-Semitism. Indeed, he believed that all evil in the world came from the Jews. To promote this, he published an article in a local newspaper about Jews infecting America, and later published more than 500,000 copies of a book denouncing Jews in 12 languages. His anti-Semitic views drew great attention from Hitler, who in 1938 awarded Ford with the German Eagle Grand Cross, Germany's highest honor. It was the first case for a foreigner at the time. Che Guevara. Che Guevara, who is well known as a symbol of revolution in the 20th century, is still receiving great attention and has many followers in various cultures. However, some criticize him for overly glorifying and idolizing him. They say he was intolerant and mean. First, he was active in building concentration camps, where he forcibly housed capitalists, African-Cuban clergy, and sexual minorities as a means of edification. Also, it was raised as a problem that people were oppressed by operating the camp with the motto, "Labor will make you human," similar to the motto of Auschwitz, "Labor makes you free." There are also criticisms that he discriminated against people of color. He portrayed whites as superior to Africans and portrayed Mexicans as illiterate Indians. Finally, he was criticized for not respecting human life, considering death essential in the revolution. John Wayne. John Wayne, a famous Hollywood actor, is well known as a representative actor who symbolizes the United States, to the extent that many of the films he appeared in were westerns. However, his actual appearance was criticized for being somewhat different from the popular familiarity and masculine rough image formed through the film. He was a popular actor, but he was criticized for giving a somewhat antisocial interview in 1971. He denounced black people, saying white supremacy mattered until black people were educated enough to be held accountable. Also, regarding the Indians who were Native Americans, he expressed the opinion that taking their land was not wrong because there were many people who wanted new land and it was a matter of survival. In addition, he announced to the public that he would enlist as a conscription target during World War II, but ultimately delayed enlistment and avoided it, showing a different look from the image of a strong man shown in the movie. Steve Jobs. If you look at the American company Apple, you can know that Steve Jobs, who was the founder, was a great person. Even though he passed away in 2011, many people still respect him for his original ideas, marketing strategy unlike others, and popularization of various digital devices. However, there are people who evaluate him differently based on some facts related to him. A prime example is her daughter Lisa Brannon Jobs, who was born to her former partner, and Steve Jobs has not met her for several years, claiming that she is not his daughter. In addition, many people lost their lives at Apple's Foxconn factory due to harsh labor exploitation, but Jobs never visited this place even once in his life despite criticism from those around him. Also, those who cast a critical eye on him, such as constantly parking in handicapped parking spaces because his car needs to look good, point out his lack of humanity. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is recognized worldwide as a physicist for his theories of relativity and quantum mechanics. But even Einstein wasn't perfect. His first wife, Mileva Marić, a physicist like Einstein, was 4 years his senior, but they married despite opposition. Since then, they have collaborated on 5 papers, including the theory of relativity and the photon quantum theory. However, these are all published by Einstein alone. Surprisingly, it was during this time that Einstein had an affair with his cousin, Elsa. Einstein wanted to break up with Maricai, describing her as an employee he could not fire. Einstein, who was having an affair, asked Marique for a divorce, and they eventually divorced. Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt, the only four-term president in American history, who overcame the Great Depression to create the present United States, was respected by many people. But there are also people who evaluate him differently. The reason is that he was irrational and racist. First, when Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics in 1936, he showed no particular reaction. Also, when Jews sought asylum in the United States to avoid Hitler in 1937, Roosevelt refused to accept them. He also had little sympathy for the many Jews who were persecuted by the Nazis. In addition, in 1942, through White House Executive Order 9066, more than 120,000 civilians, including Japanese, German, and Italian Americans, were forcibly imprisoned for several years. Because they were from the war criminal countries that caused World War II, and were criticized for being no different from war criminal countries. Mother Teresa. As a Catholic nun in India, dedicated to serving the orphans and poor for 45 years, Mother Teresa is a well-known representative humanitarian. In fact, she was called Saint Teresa of Calcutta in 2016. But she too has done things that deserve her criticism. Representatively, there were many people around her who were close to her death, such as her lack of food and the inability to receive her prescription for painkillers. But even though she received more than $1 million in donations, she neglected them, believing that suffering made the world a better place than her act of improvement. Nonetheless, when she was diagnosed with heart disease, she was treated in the best medical facilities to compare. She also got into trouble for describing a dictator known for his human rights abuses as a nice person. Winston Churchill. President Obama of the United States in 2016 and President Biden in 2021 removed the bust of Winston Churchill, sent by the British government, from the White House office a long time ago. It may come as a surprise given that Winston Churchill played a major role in the Allied victory in World War II as the former British Prime Minister. There are many positive views about Winston Churchill, but it is true that there are also many negative views. First of all, there is a view that Winston Churchill is a white supremacist. He once said that when the Kurds were trying to gain independence from Britain, he considered positively about using poison gas against uncivilized tribes. He also called the war in Africa a war against the barbarians, and also spoke of the Indians as a beastly people who believe in a beastly religion. When a famine broke out in eastern India in 1942, the local British requested food aid from Winston Churchill, but the fact that Winston Churchill refused to do so is a very famous incident. At that time, a great famine in eastern India claimed 3 million lives. Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, a spiritual leader of India, a symbol of the non-violent movement, and a strict purist, still has a lot of influence around the world. But he doesn't seem to please everyone. It has been argued that Gandhi was racist, especially against blacks. In fact, Gandhi once said that Indians are better than Africans. Also, he did not show any special aversion to class society. Rather than demanding the abolition of the caste system, he made the remark that it was okay if the upper class, the wealthy, took care of the lower class people. He also emphasized his chastity, and he sometimes did strange things, such as sleeping with naked young women to prove his abstinence, for the purpose of testing his chastity. In this video, we looked at the top 10 ugly truths of great people that people don't know about. Of course, there are many different aspects of people, and not all of them can be great. However, the truth about the 10 people I introduced was actually a little surprising. What do you think about it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will come back with more fun and informative videos. Thank you.